got some good news, which is always great, which is that the sort of libtard left in Britain, they're really floundering. They're absolutely struggling because their worldview is constantly under attack. From one side, the right is saying, you know what, guys, I think this blank slate global libtard nonsense might not actually be true. And on the other side, you've got the orcs they brought into the Shire doing abominable things every single day, which also kind of asserts in its own way that, yeah, maybe the blank slate nonsense wasn't really true. Maybe we actually can't just have a universal country, we should have anyway, but a country that's just for anyone, everywhere, all the time. Actually, there are problems that come with that. Turns out they're not just purely rational agents. It turns out they don't actually all agree with liberal precepts. And it turns out that this is something that causes real problems. So anyway, Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan and was like, wow, the English countryside is like the hobbits under siege. And using the Lord of the Rings metaphor is something, of course, that they don't like either, because they can't actually fight back against it. Because Lord of the Rings is, of course, an intrinsically right-wing property. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, Liz here is an activist for saving British farming, because, of course, that means joining the EU. And she says, I actually live in a small English village. Stop you there, Liz. Hold the presses. Shock and surprise. Does a libtard live in a 98% English area of the Cotswolds? Yes, she does. You can take her on her word. And this is true, by the way. I'm just not going to show it, send on docs or anything like that. But yes, Liz lives in a 98% English area of the Cotswolds. She actually does live in one of the richest, most homogenous areas in the country. And she's like, what? I don't, we're not hobbits under siege. I don't feel like I'm under siege. Like, just wait until you get a migrant hotel, Liz. Just wait until you get diversified. And it's coming everywhere. It's not going to stop. Just you wait. You are going to feel it. And so you can tell that they're feeling quite provoked at this point, because they're actually responding. As I tweeted out, nowhere in England is safe now. The orcs are in the Shires. Whether you're in your kids' dance class, walking your dog, or getting the train home, you are in danger. Now, I am, of course, not the first to use a Lord of the Rings analogy for what is happening, and this is not the first time I have used a Lord of the Rings analogy. I've used this analogy many times, going back many years, and it's not just me, it's many people doing that. But Don doesn't know this. Don is very lazy, and Don assumes that this tweet is the first I've ever spoken on this. And he says, Bilbo Baggins chirps up from Hobbiton, parroting his idol. That's a great sentence, Don. That's actually superb. I'll address the latter part first. I like Elon Musk, and I'm very appreciative of Elon Musk. I really appreciate that not only did he buy Twitter, brought me back, I appreciate that he regularly makes interventions into British politics on subjects that people like yourselves are happy to let carry on. Everything Don does is to leap into the defense of orcs and the atrocities that they commit. It's like, no, I want this to be the case. I want this to carry on. There's no limit to the number of people in this country I will sacrifice to diversity, multiculturalism, and my liberal values. And so I appreciate Elon Musk a lot. He's not my idol, though. I don't have any living idols. All my idols died hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. But I do appreciate Elon Musk. But he's not the first to have adopted this Lord of the Rings metaphor. In fact, I think it's more likely he adopted it from us than the other way around. But that's fine. You don't need to do any research or think. You're a hyper-partisan idiot whose entire worldview is going down the tubes. What would I expect from you? Especially this bit that the funniest bit about this is he calls me Bilbo Baggins chirping up from Hobbiton. It's like, yes, I am the hero of the story, Don. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. I am Bilbo Baggins in this story. I have been out into the world, I've realized it's terrible, and now the Shires are filled with orcs, Don. Right? This is exactly correct. You've framed this completely perfectly for me and my side of the argument. And your side of the argument is just nonsense. And of course he then says, well, unfortunately, Carlos is using this entirely misplaced analogy. Middle Earth is entirely diverse, and the point of the Lord of the Rings is to show that previously disparate groups can work together to defeat an enemy. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Right, so we've got white elves, we've got white dwarves, we've got white men, and white hobbits. coming together to defeat who? Oh, that's right. The ontologically evil, swarthy men and other races that come from far away that have been brought here by a remote and uncaring power for their own purposes. Diversity is Sauron's strength, and that's very much the theme of Lord of the Rings. Sauron has created a mighty empire by enslaving the diverse nations of Middle-earth, and now he's launching them at the homogeneous ethno-states of the West. That's literally the plot of Lord of the Rings. The hobbits live in Hobbiton. The elves live in, was it Erebor? I can't remember. The woods, and a few other places. And the dwarves live in their mountain strongholds, and the men of Gondor live in Gondor, the men of Rohan live in Rohan, and they're all separate nations. They all have their own little ethno-states. And Sauron wishes to diversify them all by force. And the men of the West and the hobbits, the protagonists of Lord of the Rings, have to come together and fight in a confederacy, as an alliance, against the centralized, diverse empire that wishes to impose diversity on them. And they win. They defeat them and drive them back. And then afterwards, the Shire needs to be scoured. Saruman has brought his orcs in there. And so the hobbits, now battle-hardened and armed, go to the Shire and just clear them out by force. So the idea that you think Lord of the Rings could be in some way appropriated for like shit-libbery is nonsense. It's genuinely funny, because the story itself tells the exact opposite. You have nothing. My analogy works completely well, because Lord of the Rings is genuinely a metaphor for what is happening now. And you, Don, are on the side of Sauron and Saruman. In fact, you're taking a kind of Saruman perspective in this, which is very, very interesting. But what I like about this is the general sort of sense of demoralization that you get from these people. Like, he's just like, oh, well, it's only from Elon Musk that they have ever heard of Lord of the Rings or something like that. It's like, what are you talking about? We've been using this analogy for a long time because it works really well. And if there's a perfectly good analogy on the table, why would I choose another one, Don? What would be the point? This is a perfectly good analogy for what is happening at the moment. And this is why you seem to be very prickly on it. This is why you're even deigning to respond to me, Don. You don't think that I'm anyone of any great importance. But the thing is, mate, the Shires are currently swarming with orcs, and we can't have it. This is a post from today on the Swindon Community Notice Board, just a local community notice board. On Farringdon Road, apparently this woman's, I've hidden the name for her privacy, 17-year-old daughter was harassed while waiting for a bus to go home after finishing work. The man shouted at her from inside the pizza shop, Pizza Go-Go, and daughter ignored him. Then he came out of the shop and went straight over to her and literally stood right next to her. Any of this seeming inappropriate to you yet, Don? As she attempted to move away, but he would not leave her alone. He was a black man, about 6 foot tall, chubby, not muscular. So we have a foreigner who's harassing an English girl, a hobbit in the Shire, who's done nothing to provoke him and doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And yet this is what we have to deal with every day. And so this is by far the worst of it, just to be clear. Obviously, the massacre on the Huntingdon train is the worst of it, but it's a spectrum, isn't it, Don? These are just the consequences of your blank slate nonsense. And you can see why people are suddenly like, wow, Lord of the Rings really did seem to have something to say about all of this, didn't it? Maybe everyone deserves their own lands in which they live, separate to one another, to prevent this kind of nonsense, Don, is what Lord of the Rings is actually telling us. And when the invasion of the Easterlings and the other, whatever, the armies of the East comes, well, you have to fight, actually. And we have to be on the same side. And if Don wants to play the Saruman in this particular story, then fair enough, let him do it. But I'm not going to. I know what I stand for. And like you said, Don, I'm happy to be Bilbo Baggins chirping up from Hobbiton. Unfortunately, okay, fine, I'll play the role if that's what we've got to do. So we'll all play our parts. But this whole thing is taxing for them. And the fact that they're responding to people like me shows that they're on the retreat They're constantly failing. They're constantly losing. The world that they promised would come into existence just hasn't. And actually, it's a world of horror. It's a world of displacement. It's a world of suffering. It's a world that is getting tangibly worse. And their Whig view of history can't stand this. No, the past was terrible. The present's great, and it's the best it's ever been, and the future's going to be better than it ever was. It's like, okay, but that's obviously not coming to pass. And everyone can see that that's not coming to pass. And so more and more people are like, well, you know what, guys? I think that actually I kind of want to join the Fellowship rather than Sauron's diverse armies. I actually think the Fellowship needs to win this if we're going to have a half-decent civilization to live in. And so you get, like, you know, just lefty propagandists like Peter Jukes, like the co-founder of the Byline Times, just shitless propaganda outlets, saying, look, I must admit I'm finding social media a struggle at the moment. It's filled with toxic chances, deliberately targeting my fellow citizens and friends with hateful, racist lies. The mental violence is sometimes overwhelming, but we must fight back. No, keep on it. Just keep posting the stats. Keep posting about the things. Just keep talking about the reality of it. And they'll be like, oh my God, there's racism everywhere. I can't take it. This is demoralizing them. Good. Good. It's our shires. It is not their shire. You Saruman bloody associates, you can all just suck it up, right? We do not have to live this way, and we don't want to live this way. And it doesn't make us bad people to not want the orcs and the shires harassing people all the time. And again, that's the bare minimum of it, right? It gets way worse, and it keeps getting worse. Like the guy just being murdered walking his dog, man. It was so awful to watch. And at some point, I imagine CCTV is going to come out of the Huntingdon train massacre, and that'll be awful to watch too. But you should watch it. This is what they're promising you. This is what they're bringing to you. This is what their future entails. This is what they want for you. And if you don't want that, well, you can come and join the Fellowship. But if you do want that, have fun with Sauron.